Ready? Chapter 3 Endgame. Leah clenched her fists. She was right there at Atlas camp, and so was he. She could see him from afar, the moonlight lighting up an otherwise dark night. She had to admit he looked quite majestic where he stood. His posture, clean-shaved face, and perfectly cut short hair gave the impression of someone in a high position. She looked around the camp. Somewhere in the back of her mind she still considered it enemy territory. For 12 years she had given it her all in Ayla's blood army, only to end up here at her former enemy's gates. Ironic, considering it all. Leah stepped into the camp. Not many people were still up at this time of the night. The camps had no use for any guards during the day, and the night shift hadn't started yet. She walked right up to Atle. He was talking to one of his officers. The other mage had a rather round, boyish-looking face, and his haircut did bring Leah's thoughts to someone not fully grown yet. The rest of his body, on the other hand, reflected none of that. He was taller than her and well-built, a man shaped by raw strength. A true blood mage indeed. Atle noticed Leah's presence and went silent, as both him and the mage beside him turned their heads and looked straight at her. A few uncomfortable seconds of silence passed, as Atle looked her up and down in displeasure, before she finally opened her mouth to speak to him. "Lieutenant General Yua sent me to find you, to bring you to him." Atle didn't look happy. Leah tried to hold it together to keep her voice steady, but he was intimidating, towering over her. She knew that she had no chance against him if it came down to it. "The blood has been found," she told him. At that moment everything froze. Complete and utter stillness. Then, as if shot out of a cannon, Atle grabbed both Leah and the other mage and started sprinting. Leah had no choice but to try and keep up with Atle's speed, while simultaneously trying to wiggle her arm out of his grip. The other mage looked quite bewildered as he was almost lifted off the ground by Atle, who didn't seem to think his officer was running fast enough. "General, if I might make the bold suggestion of letting go of my arm. You see, I can run without being held. In fact, I can run quite a bit faster without being attached to someone else." The other mage gave Atle a highly strained smile. Some inaudible muttering was heard as Leah and the other mage felt their grip loosen on their arms. Leah snatched her arm back and ran to the front. She was there to lead the way after all. The sun peeked through the crowns of the trees, and night had passed. The mage still stood there waiting at the river bank. He hadn't slept, neither had Aino. What had that blood of hers done to his body, she wondered to herself. Keon sat up beside her, rubbing his eyes and giving off a big yawn. A floor of moss, branches and leaves. Not exactly the most comfortable place to sleep, but it seemed to have worked for him. The forest around them was calm, but not quiet. They both could clearly hear the birds chirping away in the trees. "Morning," he said and stretched out his arms. "Why are you still here, Keon?" Aino asked him abruptly. He looked a bit taken aback by the question. When he didn't respond, she continued. "I miss running. Nowadays running isn't even an option. I can barely walk at a normal pace without fainting. I've no chance to flee from them at this point. You, on the other hand? You're a fast runner. Pretty sure it's me they're aiming for. You just got in the way. So why are you still here?" She looked at him. Keon scratched his head. It was a good question. He leaned back against the hill and took a few seconds to think before he answered. "I think meeting you made me realize something. I've lived an empty life. Yesterday I felt more alive than I have in a long time. I like that feeling, the feeling of being awake. Also, I didn't get in the way. Leah was aiming for me. The mage's collective goal might be you, but her individual goal is me. She will never give up. One day she will come for me again. She will find me wherever I am. I'm taking my gamble with you, Aino. I have a feeling you wouldn't hand me over to Leah without a fight. Aino gave him a crooked smile. It's a high-risk game you're playing. Kian shrugged at her. High risk, high reward. I do prefer to keep my life, after all. Aino leaned back on the hill as well. Since you're staying, may I ask you a question, Kian? Sure, he nodded at her. Your parents, how did it happen? She asked carefully. Knife attack. They were both stabbed repeatedly, then left for dead. Kian answered quietly. I'm sorry for your loss. There were no leads as to who did it? She looked at him. No motive, no leads. If it was in the old world, there would have been a police investigation. But there is no state, no police, no real laws to uphold justice anymore in the new world. The closest thing we have is the ruler. But all he is interested in is war, not rebuilding the country we used to be. So it was up to the villagers to pretty much investigate themselves for the murder. Unsurprisingly, it didn't lead anywhere. They did check a lot of knives, but never found any matches. He sighed and looked back at her. I was 10 years old when it happened. It's hard to grasp at such an age. It's a shame I didn't know you back then. With your powers, you could have probably brought them back to life. Aino shook her head. I'm not a god, Kian. I can't raise the dead. I can't even create life. Kian sat up and looked at her. So that's the price of immortality? She gave him a faint smile. I'm not immortal. I just haven't died yet. It's said that as a human, your body stops developing around the age of 25 to 30. For me, it seems my body completely paused instead. I age, but my body doesn't. I don't know why. I just live on without an explanation. The longer time passes, the more it feels like a punishment rather than a gift. She met Kian's eyes. The other mage? You said you saw him before you ran. Can I ask you how he looked like? Kian thought about it for a moment. Well, I'd say he was almost 2 heads taller than me. As I said before, he was huge. I mean, I have heard the stories of them being unkillable giants, but that's all I thought it was. Made up stories. Aino wrinkled her forehead. It seems my blood didn't only give them the power to control blood. I'm not sure. Either Niila and Ayla have chosen mages based on their large stature, or my blood could have something to do with the fact that they are so large. If my blood was in the mages while they were still developing, well, Niila and Ayla have had my blood in them since they were 7. Kian looked at her with a wondering expression. How come you aren't big like them, though? I mean, you aren't short. You're almost as tall as me, and I'm pretty much the average height for a guy. But you're still small compared to them. My cells never change. Nothing about me ever changes. I cannot make myself anything more than I am now, she answered. If you were to touch them, you could take back your blood from them, couldn't you? Just like they can drain others, you could drain them, Kian asked her. She looked at him and nodded. A smile slowly formed on his face. You want them to come to you, don't you? I waited for many years. Aina gazed up at the sky as she watched the clouds slowly move by. When they are all gathered together once again, I will take back what is mine.